Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bookish Vlogs. Oh, hello Missy, you want to sit on my lap, do you? We are looking after one of my friend's dogs for the week. So P is with us in today's vlog and her name is Penelope, or P for short, and she's definitely a very like dog lappy kind of dog. She does like to curl up on your lap, so let's see if she wants to sit here or if she'll move along. But anyway, welcome back to the Bookish Vlogs. First things first is an apology. I'm so sorry that there was no Bookish vlog last week, and this week's vlog is also late, and I don't even know when I'm going to be able to get this up. But without going into too much detail, we had a pretty scary emergency health crisis with somebody in my family last week. And was it last week or the week before? I don't even know anymore. My brain is literally mashed potatoes at this point. But we had a pretty scary health emergency, and it was a life-threatening situation, and it was racing to the hospital in an ambulance, and it was a lot of experiences I haven't had before, and it was pretty scary. And anyway, it threw work completely off, obviously, and it meant that I've been at my parents' house for a good portion of the last however long week or so. Oh, there we go, she sat down now. Good girl. But anyway, the good news is that everybody's absolutely fine, out of hospital, at home, recovering, and now it's just going to be a bit of a slow process to recover from something like that. So anyway, everyone's absolutely fine, but I'm really sorry that there were no Bookish vlogs when they were supposed to come on Wednesdays for the last couple of weeks, but hopefully things are now back on track, everybody's recovering nicely, and the uploads are going to be regular again. And I have to say, I was thinking about this community whilst I was sat in hospital, because the comfort that a good book brings to you when life is tough it's just not like anything else, and you guys get that. This lovely bookish universe that we're creating understands the power of a good book. And I was reading a couple of really good books whilst I was struggling last week, and they did a combo of making me feel comforted and safe, and also just taking me away from my reality for a bit and escaping into a different universe. So thank goodness for books, hey? What would we do without them? Anyway, because I am so far behind with everything bookish, we are going to do a bit of a September wrap up, and we'll talk a little bit about October books that I really want to get to, but I didn't really have like a set TBR for October because we're already halfway through, and the beginning of it has just been thrown through a loop with everything that's been going on. But first of all, let's look back like 6 weeks ago now to the beginning of September and talk about the books that I read in September. Because I've been so unorganized with my book videos and with updating Goodreads and everything else, I have to be honest, this could actually be an inaccurate representation. Like, these are all the books I think I read in September, but I could have read more. I don't know, I don't think I did. But as far as I'm aware, you guys might remember if I vlogged any other books that sit outside of these, but as far as I'm aware, I read 8 books in September. I've got 7 of them here, and one of them I read as an audiobook. I also did use my Kindle to read a couple of these because some of these were on Kindle Unlimited. Always check out Kindle Unlimited, guys. It's unbelievable how many good finds there are on there, and the number of books that I've gone and bought for a tenner or however much a book is, like £9, only to find that it was on Kindle Unlimited and never needed to buy it in the first place. Kindle Unlimited is so underrated. Anyway, let's start talking through some of these books that I read. So I started off the month of September. I cannot even believe it, when I was still in Greece. Starting with some Elle Kennedy. Now that I remember, I actually am 99% sure I finished The Chase in August. Because I was on holiday for that period, I can't quite recall what I finished in August and what I started in September. But the second book in the Briar You series by Elle Kennedy is The Risk. The Risk is a contemporary romance between Jake and Brenna. I definitely liked this one more than The Chase. I, to be honest, actually really enjoyed The Risk. I still think that in general the Briar You series is just not as good as the Off-Campus series, and it's not super memorable to me. Like, I know I read this a month ago, but I can't fully remember what happened. I just remember really enjoying it whilst I read it, and I think at the end of my August reading wrap-up video I described a lot of the books I read in August as really good, like, palate cleanser books, and I think I stand by that for The Risk as well. Like, I had a great time reading it. It was so fun. I would definitely recommend it as a book that is along the same vein as the other Elle Kennedys. It's fun, the banter's great, the romances are fun. I just didn't feel this romance or The Chase as deeply as I felt the Off-Campus series. Speaking of the Off-Campus series, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't actually start this entire vlog with this, because if anything was going to put a smile on my face over the last week, this news did. If you didn't already know, Prime Video has picked up the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. The best news ever. I need to do more research and find out when it's coming, what's happening. I don't know which man on earth is possibly going to be able to accurately and do justice to the God amongst men that is Garrett Graham, but the role's got to go to somebody. In my head, I can't think of anybody that I currently know that would be perfect for it. So they're probably gonna have to cast and just like find somebody new. Let me know in the comments who you think would be perfect to play Garrett Graham, because I'm so excited. Anyway, so that is such good news that we're gonna get a TV series of the off-campus series. I mean, oh, so good. So that is how the month started. Like I said, I truly can't recall what happened in what order after that. But I did read The Right Move, which is the second book in the Windy City series by Liz Tom Ford. I really loved it. This book was between Ryan and Indy, and you meet both of them in the first book, Mile High. This is a fake dating trope book, and I think fake dating is probably one of my favourite tropes. My ultimate favourite trope is single dad. I just love the creation of a family. I know I've said that 1,000 times, but I just love single dad romance so much. And I have to be honest, in October, I have read Caught Up, which is the third book. Thank you to everybody for correcting me on my mistake, thinking that Play Along was the third book. But anyway, I've read the third book, Caught Up, which is single dad, and like, oh my gosh, we'll talk about that in October. But I really, really love The Right Move. If you haven't tried the Windy City series yet, but you do like contemporary romance, they're all sports romances. They're professional sports romances. So they're all in professional sports leagues. This one is NBA. The first one was NHL. And then Caught Up and I believe Play Along are both baseball. Anyway, so they're all professional sports. I really wasn't sure when I first started reading Mile High. Maybe the first 50% of Mile High I wasn't sure about, but I'm absolutely loving this series. I will say that sometimes the dialogue can be quite repetitive of the issues of the tropes. Like, you know, I told myself that I could never want him, so I don't want him, I don't want him, I don't want him, and that gets a bit repetitive, and it's like, oh, come on, you clearly do. And even when it starts to feel a little bit repetitive, gosh, I'm not being articulate today, even when it can feel a bit repetitive like that, I still eat it up. There's something so good about it, and the found family that is starting to be built across all of the characters that are appearing, and the other characters that you start thinking, oh my gosh, I hope there's a book for them, I hope there's a book for them. It's so fun. Anyway, I'm absolutely loving it. Thank you to those that recommended this series to me. If you haven't tried this series, but you enjoyed Chestnut Springs or Off Campus or any of those other like contemporary romance series, standalone, interconnected, it's a really, really good one amongst all of those. So thoroughly enjoyed The Right Move. I'd probably give The Right Move 4, maybe 4.25, something like that. It was good. I genuinely really enjoyed it. Then I read Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is my first Lauren Asher book. This is a 2-part billionaire book series. There might be a third book coming out. I'm not actually sure. I feel like there is, but there are 2 books out at the moment. It might just be a duology. I'm not entirely sure. I kind of feel like there's more coming. But it's Childhood Friends to Lovers. Childhood Friends to Lovers is not one of my faves. Friends to Lovers I really enjoy, but Childhood Friends to Lovers, it takes a lot for it to really hit the spot with me. I did enjoy this. It wasn't my absolute favourite. I loved the audiobook of it. I did really enjoy that, and you guys know how hard I find it to find a really good audiobook, and this was definitely a good one. But then the second book, Love Unwritten, is a single dad trope book. So obviously I loved it. I have to be honest, with both of these books, I can't really remember what happened already. Like, I can remember some bits, but I can't fully remember. Although I do think that to some degree that is true with a lot of romance books, where it's more about the characters than it is about plot. And I love character-focused books as opposed to plot-focused books. So it's no complaining from me. Like, I really enjoyed it and had a good time listening to both. I think I listened to both of these actually, but I had a really good time listening to both of these. But they're not like top tier. Like these are probably more 3.75 for me. It's difficult because when I'm reading them or listening to some of these books, they're like a much higher rating. Like, I'm thoroughly having a good time. I don't want to switch it off. Whenever I get a free moment, I want to put my headphones in, listen to it, read it. But then after the fact, I just like don't have loads to say. So kind of mid, but I definitely enjoyed it. And again, if you're looking for more contemporary romances to read, I would recommend them. And actually, I think there is a reading vlog where you see my reaction when I literally just finished Love Unwritten. And I do remember like fully giggling and squealing and like just feeling so smiley at the end of that book, because a good happy ending romance, which all of the romances that I want to read are happy endings. I really don't like reading sad ending romance books at all. One day, literally like knife to the heart killed me. But I do remember giggling and squealing. So I feel like if it gives me that kind of emotional reaction, it does deserve to be in the 4 region. So I think Love Unwritten, I would put definitely in the 4, but maybe Love Redesigned, I'd leave in like 3.75. Then the next book I read was Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I've definitely talked about this already and given my review in one of my reading vlogs, but I enjoyed it. I didn't find myself really caring about the characters, to be honest, but I did really want to know what happened and who actually did it. So Listen for the Lie is about a girl who is found wandering through the woods, I believe, covered in blood, and her best friend Savannah is found dead, and everybody thinks she did it, and she thinks maybe she did it, but she's not sure, she can't remember, and there isn't enough evidence to actually convict her. It's then 5 years later, and a man comes to the small town where this happened, and he has a true crime podcast, and he starts interviewing members of the small town to see if he can piece together exactly what happened. And it's basically a journey of the woman trying to work out whether it was actually her that killed her best friend or not. I really recommend the audiobook for this one because a lot of it is in podcast format, and they kind of have the music in there. They have the voices interacting with each other as if they really are in a podcast, and I can't imagine if I read it would have quite the same effect. I'd probably give it 3.75. I did enjoy it. And I think it was a really cool concept. Like, true crime is so popular, and I think true crime podcasts are so popular. I don't particularly listen to them, but I know that they're really popular. So I think it's a really cool concept for a book. I just didn't overly care about the characters, which I think kept it at bay for me a little bit. Okay, then I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I feel like, being somebody that is super into her books and does follow the BookTok, BookTube, Bookstagram world relatively closely, it's kind of a sin that I've waited this long to read The Song of Achilles. I feel like this was one of the OG BookTok books that just blew up, and I really, really do see why. This is one of those books that when you finish it, you want to sit in a dark room for a few hours by yourself and just stare into space. It was, I'm not even going to be able to find all of the words at the moment. I need to wait a couple of weeks until I've got all of my energy back and I can really go full all in on gushing about this, but it's super powerful. It's a love story, which I didn't know when I started it. And it's a love story about Achilles and his childhood best friend Patroclus, but it's from the point of view of Patroclus. And it's just about the two men from when they're boys growing up together and falling in love. And it takes you all the way through to the Battle of Troy. So if you do know any Greek mythology or you know the stories, it's got all the same key players in there, which is so interesting to read about and to learn more about and just to hear more about Achilles' story. And I obviously didn't know anything about Patroclus. Before this, it had me like hitting Wikipedia and like wanting to read more about Patroclus and whether the love story is depicted in other stories or if that was totally unique to the Song of Achilles. But it was amazing. I feel like I probably can't give it anything less than 5 stars. Yeah, I mean, it's not my like natural, like I said, I don't love books that have a sadness to them like this book does. There's just like something slightly sad that pervades throughout. But the love is beautiful, the connection is beautiful, the devotion of Patroclus to Achilles is beautiful, it's written incredibly well. It was just stunning. I absolutely loved it. I have gone and bought Circe, which is, you're not going to be able to see it, it's all the way up there. I have gone and bought Circe, which is the next one by Madeline Miller, and I will get to that, but like in good time. Like, I need a break because people say that Circe hits even harder than the Song of Achilles, so like, I need a minute. But yeah, I don't think I can give this probably anything other than 5 stars. Then I started One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick, and oh my gosh, I had the time of my life. I think I'm going to talk about this having read Two Twisted Crowns. Is it called Two Twisted Crowns? Yeah, Two Twisted Crowns, which is right behind me here. Two Twisted Crowns was an October book, but it was so fantastic. In fact, let me just quickly insert a clip here of me finishing book 1 and diving onto book 2, because I was fully meant to be filming a reading vlog at the end of September of me finishing my September TBR so that we could get onto October books. And I started Two Twisted Crowns at the end of September. Anyway, that video ended up not happening because of everything that happened with my family, so I wasn't able to pull it all together in time and basically had to abandon ship. But I was filming, anyway, look at this clip. I just finished the end of chapter 34. I assume this is the final chapter that I'm about to start. I don't know whether to like burst into tears or like what to do. Oh my God. Like what? This is so good. I'm dying. This is so good. I'm speechless. Right, let's read the final chapter. Reading is so much fun. I feel like I want to cry and scream, and I feel sad and confused, and adrenaline is pumping, and I'm exhausted. And why is reading so much fun? Even when it's not fun, it's fun. Okay, here we go. Ugh, okay, right. I'm gonna sit up. Okay, final chapter. Let's go. I've just finished. I'm going to get the second one. That is so good. Okay, we've got it. Right, sorry this quality is so bad, but this is my phone and this is like genuine late night book reading. Okay, One Dark Window is finished and we are now starting Two Twisted Crowns because you were 100% right. Okay, I don't know how we're gonna get through those other books. I don't even care. I literally have to start this right this very second. Okay, here we go. Is an ending of a book enough to make an entire book a 5-star? Because that last 100 pages was... Right, I'll catch up with you tomorrow when I've read more of this book too, because... Yeah, so as you can see, the ending of this book, diving into Two Twisted Crowns, I was having the time of my life. When I was in hospital, I was reading Two Twisted Crowns, and it's just the perfect escapism book. If you are somebody that doesn't read loads and loads of books in a month and you're just looking for like the one perfect book or one or two perfect books to read in the autumnal, wintry months, choose these. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a dead leg because of this puppy that's fast asleep on me. Oh, I need to move my leg, babe. I'm getting pins and needles. Oh, okay, that's better. Yeah, this is it. This is the perfect autumnal read. It feels like a dark, twisted fairy tale. There's this fog, or really it's called mist, that pervades over the land. Everything is quite like dark and shadows, and it feels like quite dark magic, or all of the magic has a negative side. There's a monster, but there's romance. They go on a quest in book 2. There's a sickness and they're trying to find a cure. I mean, it's so plot heavy and so character heavy. And I often find that it's very, very difficult to go really strong on both of those points if you don't have lots of time to do it. So like the Sarah J Maas books, I love the plot and love the characters, but it's because you've got like 7, however many books are in Throne of Glass, I don't know, you've got like 7 books to really fall in love with the characters and get super invested in the plot. This is only a duology. The second book was so good. I love the second book definitely a lot more than I loved the first. That's not in detriment to the first. The first one is just kind of setting things up, and the first is 2 points of view, and in the second book you get another point of view, and I loved his point of view so much, the additional one, Elm. When you get Elm's point of view in book 2, he's just so funny. I really enjoyed his character and his romance story. Anyway, if you're looking for one extremely autumnal book, it's One Dark Window followed by Two Twisted Crowns. I'd probably give One Dark Window 4.25 because I wasn't addicted to it, maybe 4.5. And I'd give Two Twisted Crowns, oh, I kind of want to say 5-star, 4.75, maybe 4.75. I'm going to say 4.75 for now, but it could be 5-star. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was so good. Like, it was so good. Okay, let's just give it 5 stars. Then no one else makes the rules here but me, so we're going to give it 5 stars. I really, really do recommend these books. And as far as I'm aware, that is a wrap on September. Like I said, I've just been so all over the place. I don't even really know what I read, but I think that was it. Now, as you can tell, if you do follow my bookish vlogs, that haul means that we have royally failed on the books that I set for my TBR for September. We were meant to read When the Moon Hatched, we were meant to read The Ministry of Time, we were meant to read Fresh Water for Flowers, the list goes on, and we didn't get to them. I'm not just going to automatically roll them over into October. October's going to be a mood reading month, so next week's video is definitely going to be a reading vlog of us just like reading some great books together. But some books that I am going to add to my TBR, having just said I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to set a strict TBR, but I have got my notes app here because October is Black History Month. And I was having a little bit of a reflection on the books that I've got, the books I've been reading so far this year. I mean, this is really my first year of reading so aggressively, but I'm pretty confident that although I don't know loads about the authors that I've been reading, I'm pretty confident my diversity of authors I've been reading is pretty poor, if not almost non-existent. And Black History Month is a good reminder for me and to any of you to potentially diversify the authors that you read. So I actually do have a list of a few Black authors that I really do want to read. I'm going to hopefully read a couple of these this month, but I would also love if you've got any of your favourite books that were written by Black authors, or if you've got any of your favourite Black authors that you think I should check out, please do put them in the comments, because I'm looking for some inspo of new books to read. But I'll give you a few of mine if you also think that Black History Month could be a good opportunity for you to start reading some work by some Black authors. It should go as no surprise that actually all of these books, or all of these authors write romance books, or all of these authors' books that I've selected are all romance books. The first one is Kennedy Ryan. I have heard such amazing things about Kennedy Ryan, especially Before I Let Go, but also Hookshot are the two books by Kennedy Ryan that I really want to read. I think there's a decent chance that I'll get to one of these this month. Everything I know about Kennedy Ryan as an author is that they are happy ending romances, but they are quite heavy hitting. There's quite a lot of emotional stuff in there, which works well for me. As long as we all end up okay, I don't mind having to like really go through it to get there, you know? So Kennedy Ryan, Hookshot, Before I Let Go. I also really want to start reading some A.E. Valdez. There's a series called the Rise and Fall series. Specifically, I have seen so much praise for book 4 in the series, which is called A Worthy Love. Painful that I have to wait 4 books to get there. Apparently the other books are all good, but it's one of those just like really popular books, A Worthy Love, that I want to get to as part of the Rise and Fall series. And then the third Black author that I really want to read, but not this month, is Tia Williams. 7 Days in June by Tia Williams has been on my TBR since June. I went to 3 different Waterstones to try and find it, and I never did, and I really think that the cover of it is super beautiful, so I want to own the physical copy, so I didn't bother buying it on my Kindle, because it's just the kind of crazy that I am. I really don't want to read a book called 7 Days in June, not in June. I just don't. So I'm gonna hold on to 7 Days in June and read it in June 2025, but I am keeping a lookout for it every time I go to the shops, because as soon as I spot it, I'm going to buy it, and if not, when I get to June next year, I'm just going to order it online and get it delivered. But anyway, those are my 3 Black authors that although I haven't read them yet, I feel like I can relatively strongly recommend because of how much love they've got online. Kennedy Ryan, A.E. Valdez, and Tia Williams. But like I said, if you've got any recommendations for me, please do send them my way, and for more of us as well, so we can all just check the comments. And let's all celebrate our favourite Black authors this month for Black History Month. Outside of a couple of those books that I really want to read in the month of October, as I said, I've only got 2 weeks left of the month, so I don't know how much reading we're going to get to do this month. We're just gonna go with the flow and see how far we get to. But it is spooky season. Halloween is at the end of this month. Halloween is not as big of a thing in the UK as it is, I know, in the US, but I do like to create some spooky vibes. I still really want to read the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. It just feels very Halloweeny to me, and it feels like there is no other time in the year for me to really read this. I've had this for months now, saving it for October, so it would be a shame not to read it. It is very chunky, but it is a self-published book, so like the writing is relatively large, but as far as I'm aware, this is about a serial killer or some kind of mass murderer, and I think, is it about the detective that chases her? Like, she's a serial killer, he's a detective, and they fall in love or something like that. But it's got some scary stuff in it, so I really want to read that in the month of October. And the other 2 that are kind of top of mind are Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo and If We Were Villains. This one, because it's kind of dark magic, like witchy kind of vibes as far as I can tell, and If We Were Villains just sounds like it would make me feel really uneasy and just uncomfortable, is all the vibes I get from this book. Like, just, there's a murder, you don't know who did it, it's one of your friends, and you're all very toxic, not very nice people. That's the vibe that I get from this book, and you're just constantly uncomfortable. You don't like the characters, you're scared about what's going to happen, but apparently it's just brilliantly done. So those are the other 3 that I want to read. To be honest, my list is very long for all the books I wanted to read in October, but maybe we're just going to have a little bit of a spooky November as well, because I'm also just mood reading right now the books that are making me feel good. Like, I've read, caught up, I'm now in the middle of play along, and my combo of like fantasy and contemporary romance has been healing me in a very lovely way. And those 2 zones, fantasy and romance, like, are my happy place. So there's a decent chance I'll just keep reading those. Like, before I do Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, I could do Six of Crows, because everybody says the found family in this is so good, and you know I love a bit of found family. Anyway, we have so many options of books that we can read in literally the next 2 weeks, so we'll see how we go. But I'm just so happy to be back talking to you about books. It might not even feel like it's been that long to you guys, I don't know. To me it feels like a total age since I've even picked up the camera, because my last Sunday video and next week's Sunday video, for the first time in my whole life, I had pre-recorded. I never ever pre-record my videos. They're usually like right up to the wire. You know, my bookish videos, usually I'm like, oh, this is going to come out later today. This one is also going to come out later today. So I do everything like as close to it feeling like real with you as possible. But anyway, the last 2 I happen to have pre-recorded, so thank goodness I had those to put out. But oh, it's been an exhausting time. Anyway, I'm so pleased to be back talking books. I hope you guys have had some good reading time since I've been gone. And I'm actually so pumped to just have a few weeks of cozy reading vlogs where we just read what feels good. We can read things along together. You can see some of my live reactions to some of the books that you guys have been recommending that we're finally going to get to read together. Oh, proper cozy season. Let's just like all relax. But anyway, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for being the coolest bookish community ever. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a lovely week, guys, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye. And P says bye as well. Bye.